Good evening, everybody. Welcome. It's time for the Snug Wrestling Podcast. I'm Edgar. I am the host, and we're going to be going over Friday Night SmackDown from this week. The WWE is now on the road to Saturday night's main event, man. It's sad times, dude. John Cena's final match is days away. His career is over, and it's December already, fellas. Damn, time is flying by. We just have a few days left with John Cena, and we found out who his final opponent is going to be on this episode of SmackDown. And we're going to be covering all of this and so much more here on this episode. How was everyone's weekend? How are you feeling today, fellas?
I'm feeling pretty good. Kind of somber about Cena's last match being, God, 6-ish days away now, man. I mean, I've said this before on the show, but I watched his entire career. I remember watching him the night he debuted. I remember seeing him come out to face Kurt Angle. So that's a little sad knowing that, like, by this time next week, he's done. It's kind of crazy. Other than that, I mean, we're going to get into SmackDown, which to me, I wasn't really high on that much. I feel like SmackDown was really a two-match show. Gunther v. LA Knight and Carmelo Hayes v. Ilja Dragunov. So I feel like you kind of had to weigh through some of the other shit or wane through it just to get to this shit. But at the same time, I didn't hate everything on the show, but I definitely felt like if you missed it live, you weren't missing much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am completely with you on that. And when it comes to the show itself, it had its ups, it had its downs. Cena leaving by Saturday is going to be extremely upsetting. I'm going to be watching that with my buddy William. Shout out to him. So there's that. We even got to see what NXT stars are going to show up. As of last night, we fully got to see two people from NXT and what in the world they're going to do for Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. Right now, there's 3 matches for Saturday night's main event. 2 of those matches involve NXT stars, and it makes me wonder if they're going to add one more match or not. If they do, it's probably going to be with another NXT star because they want to put some attention on the next up and coming stars. For John Cena talks about giving new people new opportunities and stuff. So, or maybe they'll just keep it at 3 matches and give John Cena his big farewell, give him the time that he deserves on his final match. Um, do you guys think people are going to forget about John Cena after he retires?
Hell no. They didn't forget about him for like the damn near 2 years he was barely on the program. Between his match with Bray Wyatt during the pandemic at Mania up to when he decided to come back and get involved with Austin Theory, no one forgets about someone like John Cena. You just feel his absence. And you miss him, and you're grateful for everything that he gave you while you're watching this new generation flourish and go on into their careers. And 10, 15 years down the line, they're going to be that John Cena. One of them is, at least. And it's kind of like it's a bittersweet thing, right? Because John Cena gave us the best years of his entire life. And for a good portion of that time he gave us, he was treated like shit by the fans. And now those same fans are grown up and they realize the depth of the selflessness and the contributions that he gave to his career, that he gave to the people. Like, look at everything he's accomplished. Like 17-time world champion. That's awesome. Finally a Grand Slam champion. That's awesome. The dude was the first in and the last out for years. That's awesome. He carried the company on his back during a very hard transitioning period into the PG era where the company was dipping hard. He's also the record holding, not that he cares about it being a record because that's not who he is, but he is the record holding wish granter for Make-A-Wish. I mean, he has
Mm-hmm.
given so much of himself to these kids, to his fans, that I don't think you could ever forget that kind of impact, because people talk about the most impactful star on professional wrestling in its entirety. People talk about Hulk Hogan, and I disagree. I think it's John Cena, because though Hulk Hogan helped usher WWE into the mainstream and professional wrestling into the mainstream, when I think of Cena, I think of someone who gave more to the fans, the audience, and the people around the world and in person, not just watching on TV, but when he visited their countries, he gave more to them than Hulk Hogan ever did. Because now we know that Hulk Hogan was a selfish person, a politicking, backstabbing son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And though he gave a lot to the industry, John Cena gave a lot to the industry while maintaining his dignity, his humility, his respect, his hustle, his loyalty, all of those puns intended, to the people. And he did everything Hulk Hogan did, but he did it with sincerity. So I don't think you can ever forget John fucking Cena.
Yeah, plain and simple, John Cena's name will be completely immortalized. Plain and simple, there are certain names that will not be forgotten ever. There's John Cena, there's Andre the Giant, there's The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin. These are names that no one is ever going to forget. Plain and for what they did for the industry, what they did for the fans entirely. Those are just names that no one is ever going to forget. And John Cena is absolutely on the top of that list of names that will never be forgotten.
No, I agree 1000% with you guys. That's why when I heard him say that, I was like, nah, man, we're not going to forget. We're not going to forget this farewell tour. We're not going to forget one of the biggest heel turns in WWE history next to Hulk Hogan's, Like, we're not going to forget this moment in time in pro wrestling. I'm never going to forget it. But it was really interesting to hear him say that because he was on the Joe Rogan Experience recently, and they talked about a lot of interesting shit. And one of the things that he said, John Cena said, was like, the fans are they're not gonna give a fuck about me after I retire because it's Royal Rumble season. They're gonna care about what's happening in the Royal Rumble. They're not gonna give a fuck about me. And I'm like, nah, that ain't true, man.
That's the humility coming out of him. That's the humility coming out of him. Because one thing I've learned about John Cena, especially in the last year, watching his interviews with so many people, Chris Van Vliet, Stephanie McMahon, Joe Rogan, and so many others, is that at this stage in his career, the very end of it, this is not even the twilight. This is the sunset of his career. And the sun goes down this Saturday on the 13th. And is that he has completely solidified what non-problematic masculinity is. He is not all about himself, all into himself, trying to, portray some perfected persona. He is just, after all this time, all the industry has afforded him, all the opportunities he's been given that he capitalized on, all the things the fans have shared with him, all those moments, he has completely grasped humility and genuine humility where he means it. He's not saying that the fans are not going to give a fuck about him. He's saying that the business moves on whether you're here or not. And that the next thing the fans are looking forward to is the Royal Rumble, because time goes on. Fans stay fans and they stay excited. People come and go in the industry, but they leave an impact on the industry. So it's not that they aren't going to give a fuck about him. It's that when he's gone for the first week, they're going to miss him and mourn his career. The week after, they're going to be waiting for Christmas. And the week after that, it's the road to WrestleMania. And now they're excited for what the next 4 months of storytelling is going to bring come April 18th and 19th. So he won't be forgotten. It's just that the next page is being turned. And I think he is giving the fans the ultimate Christmas gift by saying, hey, thank you for 23 years on the main roster, 2 in OVW. So 25 years, a quarter of a century. Thank you for being here with me on this ride. And it's kind of funny that my career spanned 25 years because Christmas is on the 25th. And my present to you is I am going out the way I came in, making sure that you never fucking forget the name John Cena.
Which
Yeah,
is also making me think what in the world they're going to do with AJ Styles next year, since he announced during one of the press conferences that 2026 will be his last year as well. So what's going to hurt the next 2 years is the fact that we will be losing two of, again, the biggest stars, that being John Cena and AJ Styles. Two men that have absolutely affected each other's careers in the greatest of ways.
well, the only thing they should do is feed him to Gunther on his last match.
God, God.
Give Gunther the I'm gonna retire every legend gimmick. AJ Styles, you're next, motherfucker.
I just can't. I will get into that, but like, all I know is I don't care if Gunther beats John because John's the kind of guy that's going to put Gunther over on the way out anyway. But it better not be by submission because you can't send the fans off by having John Cena give up in his final match. Because that would counteract everything John Cena has ever stood for. Never give up is quite literally his mantra. And Gunther said at the end of this Raw, come Saturday, John, come the 13th, you are going to tap out. You are finally going to give up. And so I know the story they're going to tell in that match is Gunther trying to wear Cena down with submissions.
That's very interesting, and I think that if Gunther defeats John, not when Gunther defeats John, I think it's going to be by submission because Cena has only tapped 3 times in his entire career, and I think one of them was Jericho, the other one was Benoit, and I think Kurt Angle. In 25 years, that's it. If you add Gunther to that list.
Keep in mind, that was all in the beginning of his career before he was like the guy. So Cena's whole career, by the way, there have been many times where the stories have been told during his feuds that he doesn't tap out. Those have been focal points of certain feuds he's been in. And John has maintained that for a long time. It was a huge deal that The Undertaker had never tapped out. And then what happened in a match with Brock Lesnar? Apparently it looked like Taker tapped out, and that was the whole turning point of that story was, did he tap out or didn't he tap out? And then he hits, Brock in the balls. So it's like, would John tap out in his last match? I hope not. But it's a good story to tell because Gunther's kind of a submission machine here. And that's been the entire story of his character since Mania. He tapped out. And the fans were chanting that at him in this match tonight. You tapped out. You tapped out. And so to get even, to right that wrong that he feels is wrong, when he had that match against Jey Uso for the rematch for the World Heavyweight Championship, what did he do? He tapped him out. What did he do to LA Knight? He tapped him out. What's he threatening to do to John Cena? To tap him out. So I think the story going in is, can Gunther make John Cena tap out? So I'm excited for this, but let's get into the show.
All right. Drew McIntyre showed up on Friday Night SmackDown despite being suspended still. Drew McIntyre thought that by some miracle his suspension would lift because they won the War Games, but he was stopped by Nick Aldis in the parking lot with security and was like, whoa, Drew, what the hell are you doing here? You're suspended. You need to get out. And Cody Rhodes shows up, sneaks attacks Drew McIntyre in the parking lot. Drew McIntyre drives off. Cody Rhodes goes to the ring, and he cuts a very intense promo demanding Nick Aldis to lift the suspension for Drew McIntyre because Cody Rhodes wants Drew McIntyre after Drew McIntyre attacked Cody in his bus where his kids sleep and his wife, you know, where they're at. So, that you crossed the line, Drew. So Cody wants revenge on Drew McIntyre. That was the opening segment for this episode of Friday Night SmackDown, fellas. Thoughts on this?
I mean, it was good. Didn't Cody? It was the show. He attacked him in the parking lot too, didn't he? Like in the car, he tried to get him through the truck while Drew was distracted with Nick. And then he drove off and sped the hell off, and then he stormed off to the ring, right? So, like, that was good. It was well worked. But for me, I don't know how to say this. I'm not really into this feud because we already saw Drew and Cody feud earlier this year. And then when Drew was supposed to move on to Jacob Fatu and Fatu had to go out for dental surgery issues, all of a sudden the last thing they could think of was, well, I guess throw Drew back at Cody because we got to do something with Drew and we got to do something with Cody. So then they had their match at, I believe, SummerSlam or WrestlePalooza or whatever the fuck it was. And then we had like 3 matches in they've had like 3 matches one-on-one in like the last 2.5 months. So, or 2.5, 3 months. And then it was like, okay, so we've seen that, we've seen it again. And then they were just in War Games together. And now we're seeing it again. And I'm just like, guys, look, the reason long-term feuds like, Punk versus Drew worked is because they only had 3 matches. And they were spread out towards the end of last year after months of build between Drew and CM Punk going back to the previous year prior to that's fucking War Games when Punk returned. So you had 6 months of like shit talking build to Mania. Then the angle at Mania where Punk rips, Drew's legs off the table and then he gets cashed in on. And then Punk's gone. And then you've got Drew shit talking and building the feud himself for like another fucking 4 months, 5 months. And then Punk comes back and then they get physical and then they have their trilogy, So for me, that worked because it was spread out over a long time. They keep trying to force Drew and Cody into this blood feud over and over again, even though they keep taking breaks in between. And I'm like, I'm not into it anymore because I've seen them feud now twice this year with matches on either side. And now, just a week and a half or 2 weeks almost removed from War Games, we're about to see him have another one, probably at Saturday night's main event. I guarantee you that's the match going to be added on Saturday if they add another one.
Cody's wrestling Obafemi.
Oh, that's right. I completely forgot because he beat Ricky Saints, right? So he's wrestling Obafemi, fine. But then it's like, okay, well, we're probably going to get Drew versus Cody on the 5th of January. So I'm just like, now we're starting the year off with a match we've already seen like 4, 5, 6 times already this year. It's not exactly compelling to me. You know what I'm saying? At this point, it has lost its luster. And it's not Cody or Drew's fault. It's just because I know Jacob went out, this just feels like they didn't know what to do with Drew and Cody. So they had to throw Drew and Cody together to make up for the fact that Jacob wasn't there to continue his story, getting through Drew to then him getting to Cody himself. And this was the consolation feud.
Yeah, the biggest thing here is simple. 2 of the best blood feuds within the last year just so happened to involve Punk and just so happened to also be quite short. That being Punk and Rollins and Punk and McIntyre. Plain and simple. The biggest thing with that is the fact that it was short for both of them. So why bring up Cody and McIntyre again? It honestly makes no sense. It feels like they just went, oh, he's out? Okay, who was one of the last people that Cody feuded with? McIntyre. There you go. Do that shit again. like that's what this feels like, is that they just decided, hey, Jacob Fatu is out. Let's just cram Drew McIntyre in there for absolutely no reason other than Jacob Fatu is out and they need something for Cody.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I can watch Drew and Cody go at it at any time of the day, at whatever time of the year. The only thing that throws me out of this feud is the fact that as much as I love Drew, as good as he is, I don't actually believe he's ever going to be able to beat Cody. That's the only thing for me. But all right, moving on. So there's been a lot of debate in the wrestling world when it comes to Damian Priest because he's been wrestling on the non-televised main event shows, right? In the dark matches versus like Kit Wilson and like random people like that. And people are wondering what the hell's going on with Damian Priest? He's fallen off. He went from being world champion to wrestling Kit Wilson in main event, blah, blah, blah. Well, the feud with Aleister Black continues with Damian Priest, and this time Damian Priest has made it official that the Terror Twins are back together. Rhea Ripley is going to be joining Damian Priest next week on Friday Night SmackDown, guys.
I mean, let's call it what it is. WWE doesn't know what to do with him outside of the Judgment Day because he originally split from the Judgment Day. And then him and Rhea united the Terror Twins so they could fight the Judgment Day together. Then they moved him over to SmackDown so he could get into the U.S. title feud. That went on for a while leading into Mania, then during Mania. And then all of a sudden he's in a feud with Drew McIntyre. They have their feud. Then Drew goes away. Then they don't really know what to do with Drew for a while. Or not Drew, but Damian for a while. And then all of a sudden, it felt like the entire U.S. title scene fell flat because Drew was out. Then Jacob was still feuding, but all of a sudden they fired Braun Strowman. And then it's just like they've done lackluster work with these guys. And the reason what sucks here is Raw has the majority of the main event mainstream talent. We've talked about that before. It feels like SmackDown has been siphoned off of all of their like major big names. So they wound up sending Drew and Damian to SmackDown this year to try to counterbalance some of the lack of star power over on the brand. Hell, John Cena was on the roster for SmackDown majority of this year, and they moved him over to Raw too. Then they took LA Knight off the SmackDown brand and moved him over to Raw too. And then they said, well, fuck, God damn it, we got to put Jimmy on Raw so he can be with Jay. Well, and Roman wants to get moved over to Raw too, according to reports, because he wants to feud with Cody and Braun. So they go, well, fuck, we got to move Sammy back over to SmackDown then. And it's just like, because of the way that they've been working the Raw stories where they're taking the biggest stars or they're politicking themselves to be on Raw, SmackDown is suffering from the fact that even though it has very big star potential, that of Damian Priest and Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre, and they could build Carmelo Hayes into a big star, which it seems like it's working out, and Cody Rhodes, it's like they feel like they don't know what the fuck to do with half of these guys because the people they really want them to feud with are on the other brand. So what do we do with Damian when we don't know what to do? Break glass in case of emergency, Rhea Ripley. Because that'll get shine and fanfare back on a Damian Priest segments because mommy's there. And Aleister Black is a decent heel if you want to. I mean, he's fine. He's a great wrestler. His character work is decent, but the writing for all of this is shit. And they've kind of trapped Damian, what I feel like, in this fucking filler mid-card vortex. And they don't know how to get him out of it. And it's because they took him out of the main title scene where he should have fucking stayed. Because you spent a year building him into a main event talent just to turn him back into a mid-carder. And that's fucking ridiculous. He should be feuding with Cody too. Why does Drew lose the feud that he has with Damian? But Damian stays in the mid-card and they move Drew back in the world title scene twice this year. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you? Because it sure as shit doesn't to me. Damian should If they didn't know what to do when Jacob Fatu went out on injury with his feud with Damian, they should have then put Damian in the main event scene with Cody so he could get a shot at the Undisputed Championship, so he would have some more goddamn variety this year.
It's very clear that from time to time, we will still be getting mixed tag team matches. And I honestly would love that. But at this point, do what AAA has done. Make mixed tag team titles, even though you don't know what to do with like half of your titles already. And have 4 of what could be the biggest mixed tag teams. Let them go at it. You've got Punk and AJ. You've got Rollins and Becky, who have already gone head-to-head already. You've got the Terror Twins. And then you've got Zelina Vega and him.
And you got Gargano and his wife.
Yeah. So there's 5 there. So at this point, just make mixed tag team titles and let's have some good matches here and there between actual main event level stars who just being involved with mixed tag team matches in general would absolutely bring up that type of thing anyways.
I would not want to see that at all. And plus, like, they have mixed tag team titles over in AAA. Like, if they really want to make it a thing, just send a couple of these teams here to Mexico and put that division over.
Or bring back the Mixed Match Challenge.
God, no. Yeah, we'll see what happens next week on SmackDown when it comes to the Terror Twins. By the way, just not the best name for this tag team, but hey. Let's go on to the first match of the night. Ilja Dragunov was defending his U.S. Championship versus a very liked Carmelo Hayes. People are getting behind Carmelo Hayes, and I knew this match was going to be good. Ilja Dragunov usually has banger matches. Carmelo Hayes is, he's Carmelo Hayes, man. He's, high flying. He's exciting. He's fun to watch, despite what people want to say about him. And I thought it was The Miz that came out to interfere, but it was Tommaso Ciampa cost Carmelo Hayes the match. Ilja Dragunov won. He retained, but he wasn't very happy about the way that he retained. Ilja Dragunov was not happy. But yeah, it was a great showing for Carmelo Hayes, man. It's cool to see the people get behind him and really cheer for him, but it kind of makes me worry a little bit because people were getting behind Karrion Kross, and look what happened with Karrion Kross. People were getting behind Austin Theory. He's off TV for fucking months. And now it's Carmelo Hayes. The people are asking for Carmelo Hayes. So I'd say good on him, but don't cheer too much for him because that usually doesn't end well. What'd you guys think of the match?
It's funny because Carmelo, we've talked about this so many times in the channel. Carmelo started off on SmackDown after WrestleMania 40 with the draft with a shit ton of fanfare. His first match, people seem to forget, his first match on SmackDown on the main roster, fully called up, was against Cody fucking Rhodes in the main event of that night. Okay? He had fanfare. And then he had a very, very good and insanely impressive and criminally underrated best of 7 series with Andrade last year, which was awesome. And then they did a fuck all with him. And he had something to do here or there or there or here, but nothing of note. If you ask me, they should have been put a mid-card title on this guy by now. He should have had the U.S. Championship. Hell, he should have been in the U.S. fucking championship conversation at the beginning of this year when they were running it back between Shinsuke, L.A., and Jacob and everybody else, like Damian and everyone else, and Braun Strowman who was chasing it. He should have been involved in that more. He could have won it, and I would have been fine with it. And I like that the crowd's getting behind him now. I don't know if it's because he's from Texas. I don't know if he's from Texas, but they were really, really, really into him in a way that kind of almost felt like hometown energy. But Ilja Dragunov is my fucking guy, man. These matches that he's been having have been insanely good. The majority of them have been vastly, vastly, vastly amazing. But this match tonight was one of the ones where I said it felt like a 2-match show. You could have skipped everything else and just watched this match and the main event. But this one, holy crap, these guys tore the house down. This shit was like indie style fucking love letter type of match. I love these. These guys went hard hitting, back to back, reversal for reversal, move for move, kick out for kick out, to the point where it was getting this is awesome chance and fight forever chance. And then this fight forever chance turned into Carmelo chance. And it's matches like these that are great because they serve to help get people over when they really get to give a showcase of their ability here. And if there's one thing I can say, Ilja definitely did right by Carmelo and made sure Carmelo got a lot of steam in this match. A lot of steam because he's a champion. But he made sure Carmelo doesn't need help looking like $1 million, but Ilja helped him look like a fucking $1 million. And it was a great match. Interference be damned. It'd be nice to have had a clean finish to this. But despite that, I like that they showed that Ilja wasn't happy with the way that he won because Ilja's a fighting champion. He's not a cheater. So I hope that if anything, he'll give Carmelo a rematch. But it kind of makes me wonder if we're gonna see Tommaso get involved and maybe Tommaso answer an open challenge and Carmelo is gonna then interfere on him. So all in all, perfect match.
They gave Ilja was so mad that he was like, Nick, I want to defend my championship versus Tommaso Ciampa next week. So
that's right. That's right. Again, like I said, forgettable show outside the 2 matches. But I completely blanked on that. But that tells me I smell a DQ finish.
Oh, I absolutely do as well. The biggest thing that I absolutely love about Ilja Dragunov are 2 massive things. One, the fact that when he is champion, he is absolutely a fighting champion and is willing to defend against anyone, anywhere, at any time. That is just how this man is, which is what makes the open challenge stuff so good for him. And then you've got his finisher, Torpedo Moscow. I love the fact that that move in itself just looks so devastating and is absolutely believable that once it is put into effect, you're knocked out, you're done. So it is absolutely a believable finisher right then and there. The match itself, I completely agree with Blood here. Everything when it comes to this match was great. The fans itself, all over the place. It was absolutely perfect there. And when it comes to Carmelo, I do agree that at this point, he should have been a mid-card champion, whether it's Intercontinental or United States, fucking months ago. Absolutely should have been champion months ago. But at this point, I believe that the person that should take it off of him should be Carmelo.
I thought that's where they were going with this. I'm like, okay, Carmelo's going to get a rematch, but no, let's reward the guy that fucking ruined the match and give him a title shot instead. Like, what? But whatever.
I definitely see this turning into a triple threat.
Oh, great. Because we never see that.
Although, but when you're talking about the 3 guys involved, that match is going to be insane. So
yeah,
I'm kind of here for it.
All right. Up next, we had a singles match. Kairi Sane versus Alexa Bliss. And at first, I was like, okay. But this match was a lot more interesting than I thought because you had Charlotte Flair out there and you had Asuka out there. And, you know, Kairi Sane and Asuka were trying to cheat. And, you know, there was a lot of shenanigans outside of the ring with Charlotte. And it was a pretty fun match, you know. It wasn't just a straight up one-on-one. There was a lot of stuff happening outside of the ring as well, which I liked that stuff more than what was actually happening inside the ring because what was happening inside the ring, It wasn't Bret Hart versus Austin. Let's just say that. But what did you guys think?
Again, I say this again, being a massive Kairi Sane fan and a massive Alexa Bliss fan. The match was a fine TV match. Wasn't anything special. Wasn't anything to write home about. What it wasn't the shits. It wasn't some terrible worst match of the year candidate. It wasn't Nikki Bella versus Becky. It was a competently wrestled one-on-one singles female match with managers involved. And I like that the shit outside the ring spices up the match. Interference from Asuka, distraction, and then the equalizer in that of my goat, Charlotte Flair. I like that the match got fucking interrupted by Lash Legend and Nia. I like that they're showcasing Lash Legend. I like that Lash Legend looks like an ass kicker because that girl does look like a shit brick house. And, I like that Nia is the perfect mentor to pair her with because pairing Nia, who's essentially a veteran in all stretch of the word at this point, is essentially kind of probably with Lash to show her how bigger superstars need to wrestle and work, how to show your presence and how to let the moment simmer with your size, let the camera pick up your ferocity and your intensity and your intimidation factor of being a larger athlete. That's why, like in the end of Big Show's career with WWE, they always paired him up with giants. They always paired him up with Braun Strowmans and all this to help him understand how to work at that size, because you can't work like the littler guys. Lash Legend is not a small woman. And I like that I saw something that stuck out to me, which was when Kairi was about to get her fucking sternum caved in by Nia Jax, all of a sudden, Asuka ran in and saved her. Asuka saved her, which means Asuka doesn't just use Kairi for fodder. She ran in there, put herself at risk, and went after Nia and Lash on behalf of trying to save Kairi. And then, even though she got taken down, they tried to beat the fuck out of Kairi again. And sorry, this is actually where they were Nia was gonna hit her finish on her and cave in her sternum. Then Asuka yanks her out of the ring and saves her again, then holds on to her like a mother protecting your child, like her arm around her neck and like patting her on the head and protecting your chest. And I was like, I like that because it's good character work showing that Asuka does care about Kairi, even though she treats her like her dog, like her slave, like she owns her. But in those moments, she put herself at risk, where we have seen other heel teams like that just leave their partner in the ring to get decimated, to save their own skin. Grayson Waller and Austin Theory for perfect example as of recent. So I liked what they did here, but I also like that the women's tag team division is actually fucking interesting.
Oh yeah, there is all of that and more. When it comes to Asuka and Kairi and all of that, honestly, I love it, especially when it comes to Kairi versus Alexa. Yeah, sure, wasn't that great of a match. There's that. It really wasn't. It was great for TV. Everything else, no. But what I absolutely love is the fact that it seems that Alexa is the biggest fighter out of her and Charlotte right now. Because what's happening next week? Alexa Bliss versus Lash Legend. So that match is happening on Friday, and I'm honestly hyped for it because once again, it is a whole David and Goliath story of little person versus massive. So there's that as well. But when it comes to the match itself, there are things that I absolutely loved about it, such as everything that Charlotte did. And then there are things where I'm like, eh. One of them being Julia. Why is Julia getting involved in all of this?
That's a different match.
Was it?
Yeah. You're thinking of Jade Cargill versus Alba Fyre.
Oh, that's right. That's what I'm thinking of. So never mind. Screw that last part.
But to your point of Lash Legend having a match with Alexa, a lot of people will look at that at a side glance and go, "Oh, it's just Alexa versus Lash Legend." Okay, whatever. No. It's Lash Legend getting a match against a former 5-time women's world champion in Alexa Bliss and a fucking tag champion. This isn't just some match for Lash. Lash Legend probably realizes, oh shit, I'm going up against a future Hall of Famer, because Alexa is a 5-time former women's world champion. Okay, the woman has won Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania and people will say what they will about Alexa, but you can't mock the credentials. This is a very high-profile match for Lash. And to me, when I see that, I think they're investing in her. And that's a good thing. A current, don't want to jinx it, currently a very well thought out NXT call-up so far.
What I absolutely love as well is look at where Lash is position-wise with everybody involved in this. Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax, Liv Morgan as well as of last week, Raquel Rodriguez, all of them being title holders, a lot of them being former multi-world champions, especially with Charlotte Flair being involved in this. And in her defense, when it comes to her with Charlotte, I honestly wouldn't mind seeing that match either, because that in itself, especially if she pulls a win on Charlotte Flair, if that ends up happening, that is Lash Legend pulling up with one of the women who has the most amount of women's world title reigns of all time. So if that match happens and if she's able to pull it off, hell yeah, this entire position for her is just skyrocketing her in general at this point.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting for sure. All right, Tommy, up next now we're going to talk about Julia, because we saw Jade Cargill, the new WWE Women's Champion, versus Alba Fire. Now, this match was kind of a given. Jade Cargill was not going to lose. And the interesting thing about this was that we saw Chelsea Green out there. So we get to see the Women's United States Champion in the same picture frame as the WWE Women's Champion, which made me wonder, will we be seeing Jade Cargill versus like a Chelsea Green, for example? I think that would be something cool to see. I would like to see Chelsea Green in the main event title picture at some point. But also Julia and I can't remember the other girl's name. Do you guys remember her? Julia's.
You were pretty high on her for a while there. I thought you.
I know, but I haven't seen her in a fucking.
Does it start with does it have a P in it? Lola Vice or
no? Is it Kiana James? No, it's not Kiana James. Is it Kiana James?
Yes.
Yeah. They come out to distract Chelsea Green, and they fight off with Chelsea Green, leaving Alba Fire alone in the ring with Jade Cargill. So we have that ongoing thing with Julia, Kiana James, and Chelsea Green. So everything is all like involved here. The Women's United States title picture is now being involved with the WWE Women's Champion Jade Cargill. So there's a lot of possibilities here that I thought was really interesting about this whole thing. Julia versus Jade Cargill. I would like to see that. Even Kiana James, I would like to see Kiana James versus Jade Cargill. I think that would be good too. So a lot of stuff going on here in this one match, but what'd you guys think?
All I could really think was, I understand that Jade is the champion, even though, to be 100% honest, she does not feel like a champion to me. I'm just being real. In comparison to like Stephanie Vaquer, she doesn't even come close. And it's not even all her fault. It comes down to a lot of the way the WWE has been presenting the women's champions entirely on the SmackDown brand all year. Raw just feels more important in every aspect. But when it comes down to it, I kind of hate when I see a wrestler that I know is the better wrestler get their ass handed to them by someone who is quite literally not that great a wrestler. Alba Fire is insanely talented. She is very fucking good. If you haven't watched a lot of her older matches, the chick is fucking phenomenal. So to see her have to eat a plate of shit to keep Jade over and rack up wins for Jade as a dominant champion, it kind of hurts my heart a little bit when I know that compared to Alba, Jade couldn't wrestle her way out of a wet paper bag. I like, again, though, that the women's title scenes are crossing over with each other. I like the women's tag championships and the tag scene is crossing over from SmackDown to Raw. I like to see that the women's U.S. championships is crossing over to the women's world title scene. So I like that they're involving all the women with the women and making the storylines feel more interconnected and more important. So it feels like there's more of a direction. I just wish we had a better champion. No offense to Jade, but I just wish we had a champion that I really believed in as a champion holding that title. Because I know that I know I was done with it being on Tiffany. I don't want it on Tiffany again for a while, but I also don't want it on Jade. I don't think either of them were ready for that spot. I think Jade is in the deep end right now trying to swim, and WWE's trying to protect her as much as possible. But that championship should have gone on to Bianca, or it should have gone back on to Charlotte, or on to anybody else than two people who WWE still doesn't quite understand their characters, and I don't think they understand their own characters yet. They feel very unsure of themselves in every aspect, and Jade feels more like a project to Triple H than a champion to me, in my opinion. And again, that's not a knock on Jade. We all got to get better as time goes on. We all got to do the best we can with the material we're given, but right now she feels unready, and seeing competent veteran wrestlers get fed to her to keep her strong just kind of honestly doesn't protect her in my eyes as a fan that pays attention and someone who understands the business. To me, it honestly highlights her weaknesses because of who you have her in the ring with. Someone I know is lower card and more of a manager. You're feeding her. I'm supposed to be impressed that she can destroy someone that you barely give anything to? Come on. I would be more impressed if I watched her destroy Nia Jax. You know what I'm saying? But Alba Fire, come on.
Yeah, at this point, it just feels like, hey, look, we don't know what the hell to do with you. So we are just going to feed Alba Fire to you. Have fun. Like, that's what this feels like at this point, is the fact that we all didn't want the title on Tiffany Stratton. We also didn't want the title on Jade Cargill either. But the problem is, we were going to get one or the other during that match anyways. So they decided to put on Jade Cargill and then went, ooh, now we have to do something with you. What do we do? Oh, I know. We're going to feed a bunch of people to you, which is making me worried. Michin. They had that little backstage segment during the show, and it seems like we're getting Jade Cargill versus Michin for next week. I mean, yes, people forget about Michin, but at the same time, she's just being fed to Jade Cargill. And that's my problem, is the fact that she's just being fed to with absolutely no plan ahead.
Oh, there is a plan, Tommy. There is absolutely a plan. The plan is they're fucking holding their breath, just like they did with Lyra Valkyria, waiting for Becky to come back. You know why? Because the biggest story they wanted to tell was putting her versus Becky. And in this instance, they're holding their breath because they want to put Jade versus Bianca. And that's what they're waiting on. So they are biding their time in a holding pattern until Bianca is back on the roster, back on the show, because she's been gone for a fucking while. And that's the real story they want to tell with Jade. But they're trying to build up a reign of terror with her so she's got a better foil in Bianca when Bianca returns. That's what they're doing. But if that's the case, if you're just giving us filler bullshit, you could have waited. I mean, I would have sucked to wait for Tiffany to lose that strap, but I would have much rather waited for Jade to take it off at Tiffany when you already knew Bianca was on her way back. Closer.
Wasn't Naomi part of that fucking story too?
Until they moved her over to Raw and had her win that championship instead.
Oh yeah.
So it's like between the whole Naomi Bianca Jade story, they fumbled since Elimination Chamber. And they have fumbled it every which way this entire year. Because we could have had Jade versus Bianca.
Bianca's gonna come back and go to Raw anyway, so
well, I hope not, because from what I'm thinking, the only story they can tell is Bianca comes back, tries to talk sense into Jade, tells her this isn't you, yada yada. This is me now, and then Jade attacks the fuck out of Bianca. And then that starts their feud. That's the only way I see into this. But if we were waiting this long for Jade v Bianca, you could have just held off changing the title until Bianca was closer to coming back, rather than having Jade take it off of Tiffany. Like what? How long ago now? A month and a half? Has it been that? It's been like a month and a half, and it's the end of the year. There's no more PLEs. Okay, so
they'll probably save that match for Mania for Jade.
Fuck, man, don't keep it on her that long if you don't have a direction of anything worth a goddamn in between. Because you got to still think, what are we doing at the Chamber with that title? What are we doing at the Rumble with that title? What are we doing on the 5th, like on the New Year with that title? There's nothing going on as worth a damn the rest of this year for that title. So it's like, how long are you going to make the fans sit with this? Because it'll be the same problem we have with Tiffany. We waited fucking months for anything worth a goddamn to happen. And now we're going to repeat that again. At that point, get rid of the secondary title and just keep the one that's on Raw, and they can cross-brand feud.
All right, moving on. The MFTs, they've been feuding with the Wyatts, the White Six, the White family. And Solo Sikoa cuts a promo on Uncle Howdy. And I was pretty thrilled with this promo because after his last match versus Gunther, we saw a side of Solo Sikoa that we haven't seen in a while, which is like a more intense, more serious, and more threatening Solo Sikoa. And I think we're on the right path to make Solo a more convincing heel, right? And I think this promo did just that because it got really personal. He brought up Bray Wyatt. He brought up, you don't deserve to, be giving everything that he gave you, pointing up to the sky. And I'm like, oh shit, he's going to take it there. He's going to bring up Bray Wyatt. And he kind of did. So it got really personal and Solo was serious. He had like this look in his face that was like, I ain't fucking around no more. And he even at the end of the promo, he ended it with a believe. So I thought that was pretty, yeah, man, it was pretty personal. It got real for a second there. So I really liked this promo. The White Six came out. They had a big pull apart. We had a great stare down with, the two giants, Eric Rowan and Tala Tonga. But what did you guys think about this segment?
I definitely thought if I thought the match with Gunther was a step in the right direction for Solo, this promo absolutely was. I'm hoping we are on the road to rehabilitating his character from what, and I'm just going to call it like it is, the character assassination that he has undergone since WrestleMania 40s, like after WrestleMania, since like a month after WrestleMania 40, they had him wearing the suits. He had already turned on Jimmy, and then he started shucking and fucking jiving and shit. Like, and in every match, he mocks his opponents with like doing like their taunt and stuff, being goofy and all the laughs like that. This guy, like, they completely character assassinated him because I said this before. The Solo Sikoa from WrestleMania 40 and the previous year in 2023 would have murked the Solo Sikoa we had the remainder of last year and the majority of this year. He would, if they were face to face, they would have 2023 Solo would have destroyed that Solo. And it's funny because the 2023 Solo was a fucking enforcer, a background character. This Solo has been leading an entire faction for a year and a half almost. So this promo, along with that match with Gunther, to only be roughly, in the same fucking week as each other, I think is extremely important for his character. I'm hoping they keep him serious, they keep him threatening, and they do it long enough to where we can forget like the disturbingly stupid beginnings of this arc that he's had, because he could be a top heel on SmackDown. Hell, he's good enough in the ring. He's good enough on the mic. He has the group. He's got the look. He's a fucking Fatu family member. So it's like, come on, man. I mean, his fucking middle name is Yokozuna, for Christ's sakes. So it's like, dude, you could have made this guy a fucking threat from day one of running this group. Day one. And you've wasted a year and a half destroying all the credibility you spent a year building in him, plus his time in NXT. You had him destroy John Cena to the point where John couldn't talk, but somehow this guy couldn't buy a win as a fucking US champion. But I'm supposed to what? Forget in my brain that he murdered John Cena in a match? Samoan spiked his throat closed. I'm supposed to forget that happened, but you put him in a title match and he can't win without help? And he lost every match in between that wasn't a title match? Like, character assassination. I want to know who he pissed off. You don't just do that without a reason, okay? You don't have John Cena do the job for a guy to waste that goodwill. So this promo was a step in the right direction. Keep this direction going for Solo, and we can build a great star out of him for the fucking main event heel division, because I would love to see him get a crack at Cody again, but as a monster heel, a real fucking threat where Cody is outnumbered 1 to fucking, what is it now, 4 or 5 in that goddamn group? So please, Triple H, SmackDown writers, whoever's in charge, stop destroying the great characters you guys spent so much time building.
Is his middle name really Yokozuna?
Yep.
Yes. I believe his first name is, it starts with a J. It's not Joshua. That's one of the twins. But yeah, it's his first name, middle name Yokozuna, last name Fatu. He was named after his uncle Yokozuna.
All right.
So when he said the words, "I will make everyone see that you don't deserve the name Wyatt," I felt every damn person in that audio's asses clench when he said that. Because I heard it. I heard a fuck ton of people hear him say that and just went, "Oh, ouch." So him bringing up Bray like that, that got personal real quick as soon as he brought up Bray and the last name Wyatt. But I do agree that this promo was absolutely phenomenal from him. It's absolutely something that he needed. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, this man needed this promo. But the one match, the one face-off that I would love to see a one-on-one with, Tala Tonga, or Hikuleo, as I will continue to always call this man, because Tala Tonga is a very dumb name. So Hikuleo versus, why the hell am I blanking on his name now?
Eric.
Yes, against Eric Rowan. I would absolutely love to see those two giants go head-to-head. That in itself would be a banger of a match right there. And Triple H, if you know what's good for you, book this match, please.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one. Eric
Yeah,
Rowan.
no, I don't want
Eric
to see
Rowan is
that.
Eric Rowan is fantastic, but Tala Tonka, that's like watching a non-deer baby deer legged Great Khali wrestle. I don't need to see uncoordination versus a coordinated veteran in the ring. I don't want to watch Eric Rowan carry Tala Tonga through a match. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, you guys ready for the main event?
Sir.
The final for the John Cena tournament, the last time is now tournament, LA Knight versus Gunther in a high stakes match, man. Great fucking match, man. I really enjoyed this match a whole lot. Um, as much as I love Gunther, I was pulling for LA Knight, man, because I'm like, man, like LA Knight never wins anything. He never wins. It feels like that, even though he is a former US champion and blah blah blah. But I'm like, damn, like he couldn't get the Rumble done. He couldn't get did he have a world championship match? I think he did at one point. I don't know, but he's always there, LA Knight is always there. He's always so close, but
I mean,
nope. And again,
he has beaten Seth this year.
okay. And I was hoping LA Knight was gonna be the John Cena's final opponent, but the reports are true, and it was Gunther. As soon as Gunther hit that, I think it was like a German suplex from the top rope, and LA Knight started selling his neck, and Gunther started working the neck. I was like, oh no, he's fucked. And yep, Gunther did like some type of like crossface on LA Knight, tapped him out. Gunther is John Cena's final opponent, December 13th.
Man, this chapped my ass. I've been pulling for LA Knight to be John Cena's final opponent for almost 3 months now on this podcast, along with so many. I even put up a poll on Instagram after Gunther won to see who thought who should have actually won, Gunther or LA Knight, and the poll was over 86% for LA Knight, and the 14 remaining percent at the time was only for Gunther. Like, people wanted LA Knight. What's aggravating is that we had this report 2.5, 3 months ago that they were holding this tournament for John Cena's final match, and that it was rumored that Gunther would be returning in the tournament to win it and go on to face John. The moment that report leaked, a lot of us were just trying to fool ourselves and delude ourselves into thinking, oh no, I mean, this could just be one of WWE's red herrings. They planted the story so they could really swerve us at the end and yada, yada, yada. This was one of those times, WWE, where the fans would have probably loved it had you swerved us, had you floated a bullshit story. What's disappointing about this win is that it's quite literally, it was telegraphed 3 months ago. What's disappointing about this win is that every single thing that report said would happen happened. They announced the tournament. They hold the tournament. Gunther returns in the tournament. Gunther wins the tournament. Gunther goes on to face John Cena and probably beat him at Saturday Night's Main Event. That was the report. And so far, everything that was in that report is true. And it sucks. And I love, do not get me wrong, I love Gunther. I'm a huge Gunther fan. I'm also a massive LA Knight fan. And LA Knight needed it more. And I said this on my blood drop episode. You can check that on Apple and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, is that Busted Open Radio had said that they thought Gunther needed this win because it would mean more for Gunther. And I thought, are you fucking high? The guy who is the record-holding Intercontinental Champion of 666 days, who has won over 75% of the time he's been in the company, or been champion over 75% and won over 80%, the guy who's the two-time world champion in just the last physical calendar year. He has been a world heavyweight champion twice, okay? He needed it more than LA Knight, who could have sorely benefited from beating and retiring John Cena and finishing his story with Cena from 2 years ago and turned him into the guy who actually retired him. It would have meant so much fucking more. The match itself was insanely fucking good. For those people who say that LA Knight can't wrestle, you're fucking blind. He gave Gunther that work. You see Gunther in that match, drenched in fucking sweat, bruised everywhere, red. He had to work. And it wasn't a German suplex off the top rope. It was a standing German stalled suplex. He landed on the back of his neck. And then the submission that he won with was a cravat, which was surprising to me, but commentary put it over as him trying to put over the STF from John Cena to send a message. To me, I'm gonna die on this hill. Wrong guy won. But what a fucking match to end a show on. What a fucking match to end a tournament on. Because that shit, if you weren't paying attention to LA Knight before, I wouldn't doubt this man again. Whether or not they booked him to win, he fucking showed up tonight. That night. He showed up. He fucking showed up. He's a great wrestler, and he deserves better than they're booking him.
Yeah, easiest decision here. This was match of the goddamn night. And we know that that's not saying much because this has been a 2-match night easily. But this match here, match of the goddamn night. There ain't no doubt about that. But I do completely agree. The wrong man won. And I was having a slight little argument with somebody in which one of the first things that I brought up was how many massive matches has this man had that has been just pulled out from under him completely. You've got this entire tournament. You've got, yes, he did win against Seth, although it was due to an injury that happened there. So, well, injury, fake, but still. You've got Money in the Bank that was pulled out from under him. Rumble, which was pulled out from under him. So this man has had so many massive matches put in front of him that he has gotten this damn close. So close to getting and so close to winning that has only been yanked from underneath him, only screwing him over more. He absolutely deserves so much more than what he was given and what he is being given right now. Hopefully, after this match, people fully look at this man and see how good he actually is in the ring. There was a couple times, there was a couple BFTs and AAs that happened where I'm like, Knight may actually have it. Please, give it to Knight, please. But unfortunately, it was given to Gunther, in which my first thought was, why? This man has already, within the calendar year, retired Goldberg. Why in the world, as much as we all hate Goldberg because he's not good, but as much as we all hate Goldberg, we still admit that this man is a massive star in itself. Why the hell are you giving 2 massive stars to Goldberg? Not to Goldberg, to Gunther. Why? LA Knight absolutely could have used this and soared completely. It makes no sense why in the world they're giving him to Gunther. It absolutely should have been LA Knight for this.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to see LA Knight for sure, but I'm actually looking forward to this match with Gunther and John Cena. But we'll talk about that when we do the predictions. That was the SmackDown review with the Snug Wrestling crew. Let's get up out of here.
Thank you guys for kicking it with us as always. We appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. And if you love more of our wrestling content, please join us every Monday and Friday after Raw and SmackDown go off the air, respectively, on Apple and Spotify. And for bonus content, check out our channels during those live events for reaction content as well. And do not forget, this upcoming Wednesday will be the predictions for Saturday night's main event, John Cena's final ever match. And that prediction video will be live at 9 p.m. Eastern to 6 p.m. Pacific on Instagram, or not Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, X, or whatever you want to call it. And please do not forget to head on over to our TeePublic/Snug Wrestling, or click the links in any of our socials, anywhere you find them, or on the Apple and Spotify links to check out our new merch line that is available and on sale right now for upwards of 35% off. So please check that out and support the podcast. And we will see you this upcoming Wednesday. And we'll see you tomorrow night too on Raw, but Wednesday for predictions. Till next time, guys, stay safe, stay savage, and stay snug. And that was one time for the one time, the last time, which is now. That was
4 letters, 1 word.
Yeet.